Hello, hello, hello. I am live on Instagram. It's Deborah Francis White with The Guilty Feminist, The New Normal. And today I am being joined by Sara Pascoe. I will be soon anyway. It's only 2 to 6. So I feel I need to hold on a little bit longer and let you tune in so you don't miss any really juicy Sara Pascoe content because she is... one of the most fascinating people I think I know. This overhead light I don't think is doing me any flattering favours. I'm a feminist, but I'm going to turn the overhead light off because overhead lighting, it just isn't... Now that's better, isn't it? That's because I've got some really gentle uplighting going on in my bookcase. An uplight is always what you want, and a side light, a flattering side light. And I don't know about you, I feel like I am becoming acutely aware of what I really look like, and I think I do a lot of mirror management. Like I go, and I take photos well often. And I think that's what I look like. And it turns out no, because now I'm seeing myself on video the whole time and poor video, like webcam and stuff. And I've started to feel a bit almost depressed at times. I'm having to look at myself and look at other parts of myself, more metaphysical parts. Look at my habits. Now I can't blame outdoor structures. Now it's clear this is just who I am. This has got philosophical incredibly quickly, hasn't it? Sarah's not even on yet. And you know what Sarah's like? She's always got some interesting fact or theory, hypothesis based on the psychology of evolution or something like that, some psychological theory from evolution. And already I'm right deep down into, I'm having to face my own truth. I'm having to face what Tom and I are like when we're quarantined together. I did tweet yesterday, the trouble now with being quarantined alone with your partner is that you can only legally storm out once a day. And that is true. Although we are being very kind to each other. We are being very, very kind to each other. Sarah says she's here and at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to ask Sarah to join. Hold on. Here we go. Why is that not working? Here it is. Yes, it is. Inviting Sarah. And 3, 2, 1. Sarah's joining. I believe in this.
There it is. Hello.
Hey, hello, Sarah. Welcome to The Guilty Feminist, The New Normal.
Hello. Sorry, the dog gets excited when I talk and he thinks I'm talking to him. Yes, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Deborah.
I actually follow Mouse the dog on Instagram, so yeah. I'm a big fan of his. Big fan of his work. Wonderful. Have met him in person a few times. Hello, Mouse the dog.
Hello.
Oh, Mouse the dog.
Where's Deborah?
You remember me, Mouse? Deborah? Yeah. Hello.
Where is she?
Hello.
There we go. Well, how are you doing today, Deborah?
Well, in fact, that's my first question to you. On this show, you have 12 questions, and the first question is, how the hell are you? So how are you feeling?
So I've not been well, like lots of other people. And but I would say I've had something quite mild, quite weird, but quite mild. But I've not been able to do anything really apart from lie around and read, which has been very frustrating. And so I've had the blues really, where I wake up every day and feel a bit just wanting the time to go. Like my mum said something about how she doesn't like it when it gets dark at the moment. Weirdly, the nighttime makes her feel quite alone. Whereas I've got the opposite, where actually I get this relief at like 7 o'clock. Like, okay, thank fuck, that's another day over.
That's a day of quarantine over.
Nothing, yeah.
Is Steen looking after you?
Steen's been ill himself, so I came back and I caught it from him, I think, but he's getting better now. He went out for a run today and I was really jealous. Even though it's so busy when you're running, it's like going to Westfield at Christmas. It's so packed with people. Have you got that near you?
Well, I've been going for a daily walk, the government mandated one, the legal one. And I'm very careful. I'm treating it like a video game where if I see someone coming, I've got to get out of their way in a certain period of time. But I found a lot of people are not veering enough, Sarah.
No.
They let you do all the veering.
I think it's like, do you remember, like, it's a drama game, isn't it? It used to be a warm-up game where you walk around the room and you had to have like your own personal space. And I think lots of people maybe just didn't go to drama club. So they don't
Not
know.
enough people went to drama club / drama
No,
school, where it's like, they'd always say, use your peripheral vision. And you'd sort of
exactly.
have to exactly do that
Get
physical
in tune.
distancing from people. Get in tune, be aware. Be aware. I was thinking today I could smell someone's cigarette smoke, and I went, okay, then I'm breathing in what they've breathed out. And it
Yeah,
made me realize how far away from somebody you need to be before you
yeah.
can't breathe in what they breathe out.
Well, I don't want to do horror stories, but my mum, who's not very well, she's been quarantined for 11 days. The only thing she's had is food deliveries where they've left them on the doorstep. And 2 days ago, she got ill. And she was like, I don't know if it's the virus at the moment. I'm just dizzy and I feel it. And I said, you got the germs from somewhere. Like, even if it's not this, still, just a Tesco shop has made her sick.
Are we sure that she didn't get it before that period? Or
Well,
was
we
she
don't
out of
know.
that window?
Well, I don't know.
Because
11 days feels like such a long time.
I know. Well, I worry about like fruit, like you have to wash it so much because someone's just touched it, you know. But
Yeah.
now we're all in this, you know, strange. Also, we've got to some extent, you know, you've got to eat fruit. You've got to
Oh no, you do have
your
to.
best.
And also, if that's the thing, and I know people who are obsessive can't control this, but you really do occasionally have to put your thoughts back onto, like, this is not a useful route for you to go down, thinking what invisible things are on everything.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've got to make your best efforts and then live your life and be as connected and happy as you can.
Yeah.
So my next question for you, Sarah, is has this crisis given you any new I'm a feminist buts?
I'm a feminist, but I mean it feels like, I mean, to quote Madonna, quite
Please.
I mean, it's affecting everyone, isn't it? It's interesting that people, I was just before speaking to you reading about this, the stats show that men are more likely than women to have the coronavirus, and then people were saying this is why it's important that biological gender is always taken into consideration in medicine, but then other people were saying that men are much more likely to have been tested for it so far across every country. And so that might be, but that's something we don't know the answer to yet. But I mean, that's the only time I thought gender's come into it, or sex.
Well, I think it's that men are socially conditioned to wash their hands less, because women are trained to be very hygienic, and
really?
that's just, it's part of ladylikeness, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
that's
so many men say men don't wash their hands in the loo and things like that. It's very common.
I would say Steen is the person who's always having a go at me to wash my hands. We're the complete opposite. He was really well brought up, and I wasn't. So no, it's a big shock to my system that how many times a day are you supposed to wash your hands?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's extreme. No, I mean more like so mine is I'm a feminist, but I am genuinely frightened about how long it's going to be between now and someone being able to wax me again, and how that's going to make me feel. Like I feel like already I can feel it in my skin. Like I just staying inside all the time. You know, I'm not putting on makeup for anything because there doesn't seem to be anything to put on for. And I feel like part of my identity is in, weirdly, kind of getting dressed up and doing my makeup and that kind of thing. And I'm like, it's just gone. It's just gone.
I think that's an interesting experiment, because then you really do know what it was for. It's interesting living with a partner, like with the waxing thing. Because I was thinking I might just grow out my chin hair, because for a long time I haven't known like what it would actually look like if I didn't pluck it. But then I think if I was completely alone I would, but like my partner, I still want him to fancy me even amongst all of this.
Oh yeah.
But,
well, look, he's the only one you've got, so
exactly.
I'm sure he would fancy you whatever, but
I don't think that is true. But then it's interesting because I don't feel the need to ever put on makeup for him, or wash my hair, or take off my pajamas. So so I do know I was doing that for like the outside world, like employers and things.
Yes, and it just but are you missing wearing a sparkly dress or anything? Are you missing occasionally like zhuzhing?
And this is a terrible admission actually, but if there's anywhere to do it, it's with you. I've been buying a lot of shoes online, and I've realised it's like I guess it would be like if you were on a diet and you get obsessed with feeding other people. You know, sometimes these things can go kind of round the corner, or you get obsessed with baking but deny yourself eating them. I just have this thing of like, one day I'll walk again. Like one day I'll go outside and I'll need so many shoes.
It's storing them for the future.
Yeah, just like, yeah, it's investing in a future where I definitely will need to put shoes on.
I believe at the end of this, I keep imagining a time when we'll be back at the theatre jostling around with people in a pub, and we won't, you know, I'm sure our habits will change a little bit, and we'll get onto that. But I feel like there will come a time we will look back on this as an epoch, or an end of an epoch, or an era. Have you got any coping strategies for staying emotionally stable, mentally okay? Have you developed any yet? It's okay not to.
Do you know what? Everything I thought I would be able to do and that would help me hasn't, and I haven't had the attention for it. So I usually would keep a diary, like when I'm working, when I'm doing jobs, as a way of emotionally kind of gauging where I am. And you know, like the speed writing thing where you don't filter yourself and you see what comes out. And I just can't face it. Like I can't do anything for more than 10 seconds. I go into the kitchen, I think I'm hungry, I put something on, I forget I've put toast down or anything, I go and do something else. I've started lots of books and then not been able to get into them. I've run baths I haven't had. Like every time I start doing something, I go, what's the point? It's not making it go away. It's not solving the problem. So I just keep walking around the house or just lying down. I've got a heat mat, which was helping with the pain in my back and my head. And I just sit there like a little egg on it. Again, just hoping for time goes.
I mean, the first couple of days, I had the worst stress headache I'd ever had. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm getting used to it now. And actually what's interesting is how quickly the new normal is becoming normal. I do not want this to be normal. And that's scaring me.
Yeah. But that's a sign of good adjustment, I think, rather than railing against it. I think, I don't know, I guess because you don't want to disassociate, you don't want to be in denial of what's happening and distracting yourself. You want to be able to kind of absorb it a little bit. You
have to process it. It's important.
I guess that's it. And it's very hard to process it, because it feels like whenever you create a narrative about what's happening or what's happening in the world, I think, that's too simple. That it's much bigger than that. Like, and it might be a really long time before we properly understand how this affected everybody in different ways. And I worry a lot about the people we don't hear from. Like, we hear from a lot of people because they're already prominent on social media or already in the public eye. And that makes me think, but I want to be able to lift the lid off everyone's houses and go, how is everyone coping? Do you get a lot of feedback from doing this where you feel like you've got a good gauge on people?
Yes, well, a question that I'm coming up to, well, we could skip to it now actually and then come back to the others, is the most popular question on this show. And I mean, you're only the fourth guest, so I've got a very small sample, but every day when I come to this question, everybody starts joining in, and more people come on as we go on, so I might leave it, but it's about a dark moment or terrible thought you've had. And I really notice how many people go, thank you for saying that. And I think it's because when people go on Instagram Live, it's when they're feeling up, or they need to buck themselves up, so they go and they perform something and they connect. When they go on house party and they've got their glass of wine and they're saying, yeah, here we are. And nobody is televising the moment when they're in the fetal position crying, or they're suddenly going, what if my parents die and I never see them again? No one's televising
that. That I think that there's a lot of and I think maybe it happens a lot anyway, but crying for no reason, and it's
all the time.
But that thing that happens because of trauma and grief, and it is the up and down of it. That one minute you are fine. I know, I can see from lots of your comments there are people who've found real kind of focus and creativity, which is just so amazing. But there's that other moment where you just literally, it just comes upon you, or you're staring out of the window and then you go, oh, I'm crying again. And I know lots of people are limiting their social media for that reason, that certain things just suddenly trigger, go like, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard, or even people being lovely and amazing. Is then so emoting as well.
I had a weird thing where I had a personal training session by Zoom. And I had the tunes on and I'm really moving, and I was like, oh, I feel great, I feel fine, I'm good at this, I'm good at quarantine. And then the second it was over and I said goodbye, out of nowhere I sat down in a chair and sobbed, and I didn't know where it was coming from, but it I realized it was like, that's the only person I'm going to see today, and that's the only connection I'm going to have, and she's gone. And I was like, this is, you know, of course that's not true, but it felt in that moment like it was. I'm much better adjusted than I was last week. Really wasn't well adjusted. I mean, really struggling last week. And you know, human beings are great at adapting. You know, you're sick, and I think that's really not helping, because you can't even go out and go to the shop, or like, not that I'm going to the shops, but go for a walk. You know?
I've never liked running. Like, I'm not a runner, but because that's probably the one thing, like cardio. I'm just at the moment, I'm just very frustrated by not being able to exercise, because that would then suddenly feel like a really healthy thing to do.
Yes, yeah. We will find ways, and you will get better as well.
Yeah, of course.
What are you surprised by? What's the weirdest thing about this for you? Like, for me, I feel like I didn't realize how much of my energy I got just from being out in humanity. So I would go to yoga, not talk to anyone really, come back, get a coffee on the way back, not really talk to anyone, but just maybe engage with whoever's there. And I'd feel like I'd had an afternoon out and I really connected. And it's only now I realize that I absolutely need to leave the house every day for my walk, because I need to just see that society is still there and humanity is there. And of course, acknowledging my privilege now that some people can't do that every day because of disability or other societal pressures.
Well, that's it, because what you're describing is being connected. And it's interesting because you do a podcast which obviously is about connecting with a huge group of people. And that's the thing I think probably is universal. We all need to occasionally realize we're not by ourselves, we're part of a family, however that family forms itself, and then humanity at large. Like, it's really good to remember you're one of the many human animals, however you do that. I think the surprising thing, because I thought if you'd asked me 6 weeks ago, or you know, I'd have told you this would be my dream, because like most people, I work too much and I work at night, and so my fantasy is nights in. Like, there's nothing better than being. And I only bought a flat last year, so it's my first time of owning property. And again, I know that's a privilege. So that's been a fantasy for a long time, that one day I'd have my own flat and I'd be able to be safe there. And then the fact that it becomes a prison so quickly surprised me. I'm never staying in ever again. I'm going to work every night and every day. I'm going to burn the flat down. I'm going to sleep under a bridge. Like that, I did. Like I've thought, you know, like being under home arrest. Like, oh my God, how amazing would that be? Just watch telly and eat pies. And then when that's all you've got, do you know what I keep thinking of? You know, I don't know if you ever smoked when you were young, but the whole idea that if your parents caught you smoking, they'd make you smoke 40 B&H and then you'd throw up and never do it again. And I've realised that is this, like something that I previously fantasized about so much, to the point that fetishized. Staying in for me was a fetish, like being comfortable and being hidden. And I can't believe how quickly it's turned. My dad's in Australia, and he's still having to teach at university, and he said, I'm looking forward to when we get the lockdown. And I was like, you wait, you don't know, because you can't control it. It's not fun.
It's exactly that. It's options, because Tom's much more introverted than I am. He likes staying in, and I'm much more, you know, out and about. I mean, I love staying in. I mean, but I can't actually believe how much I used to love a night in now. I can't believe it. But Tom said, as much as a homebody he is, he's like, it's different when you've got the choice. It's different when you choose to stay in, when you feel locked in. I loved something, you were advertising somebody else's Instagram live the other day, and you said, watch this from the prison of your own home. And we laughed so much. Are you having some kind of routine? I mean, if you're ill, maybe not, but is there anything that punctuates your day?
No, I haven't found that yet. No. And but
next question.
I've never been particularly organized anyway. I would sometimes maybe write lists of things that need doing, but I have to be wary if you set aims that you always fail at. So for instance, I could tell you, I've got a routine, it's get up at 8, and I would sleep through that every single day. Or I'm going to do an hour learning Italian or the guitar, and then in 3 weeks' time, when I've never done it, I will then feel like a failure. So instead, I'm just living like an egg, as I say, just sitting there on my heat mat.
Do you know what? I'm so unroutined in real life. I understand this is also in real life, but in my regular life, I'm very unroutined. But interestingly, and this has given me, you know, some actual experiential empathy as opposed to the regular empathy I've had before for like friends who have children who are on the autism spectrum, where they said that their children absolutely need that routine, and if they go out of that routine, it's very upsetting to them. And I started to think in the bath the other night when I was having a sort of de-stressor bath, that I'd had a real meltdown because something that was meant to happen hadn't happened. I was like, this is giving me so much experiential empathy, because I was like, oh, if the world doesn't make sense to me, what I need is this to happen at 10:30. I'm having this sort of PT exercise class at 10:30. And if that doesn't happen, I'm like, well, the whole day it's not going to work now. Because I'm like, what kind of person for me to go from being such an unroutine person who would not want anything that I have to do at 10:30. Now, if it doesn't happen, then the rest of my day, what is it? And if I don't eat the right thing at the right time, what is the rest of the day now? Now it can't work. And I think, like, even having this at 6 o'clock Monday to Friday is very helpful for me, because I'm like, well, that's the end of my day. And then, of course, I still go on and write and do things. But I think it's about, I'm out of control of everything now.
I think
but what I can control is this.
I think a lot of the people, obviously, we've all had our work. I know this is universal, but everyone I know kind of does stand up, and our work has disappeared. And there isn't, some people have kind of had stuff put back for the autumn, and hopefully it'll come back next year. But it's really difficult to get your head around it when there's no definite thing to push back against. Because if everyone said, okay, this goes on till July and it has huge ramifications for the economy, but if you just knew, but at the moment, the whole world not having a plan, that no one can tell you, that exact unsettled thing where literally everywhere you push just goes, well, we don't know, and that might happen, and this might, and when that also, it's not just your work and your livelihood, it's also people that you love and their health. Those combination of things, I think, does make you need some definite structure, just so you know, okay, I'm going for my walk, or I'm having a shower.
Absolutely, that 100%. We don't know if it's going to come back every year. We don't know if it's going to mutate. We don't know anything. We don't know anything about this, but we also don't know about the health of our family, and we don't know. That's a lot, and we're all going through it together, and I'm finding many new connections. There's a lady who lives across the road from me who I've never noticed before, but she's always leaning out her window. I think she's, to get some fresh air or whatever. And we've started smiling at each other and sort of waving at each other. I'm really sure that after this, I'll have her for a cup of tea.
You should check that she's not been in prison the entire time. It sounds a little bit like actually she's going, excuse me, I'm captive.
And in a Rapunzel style way.
Yes, yeah.
Any books, movies? That's
what I got out. That's the one thing I can show you, is I got some books out to show you. So
lovely. One
thing that I think is so important for the next stage of all of us, feminists or members of societies, that what this shows so clearly is how we need to have a very different economic makeup to our society, something that's slightly more socialist, something that's fairer. So basically all of the books I've got to recommend, I thought maybe some of your people. So this one is Women versus Capitalism. Can you see it?
Right, yes.
This one's about to come out. It's really amazing, the double X economy, and it's about funding women, and it's all across the world. She's done studies about what happens when, like, from microfinancing, but basically
oh, you're breaking up a bit, but
double X. This one's about universal basic income, which is something that some people haven't heard that much about, but is a much fairer thing and a much fairer way to deal with situations like this.
I think I'm so in favour of that.
Yeah, so that's called Give People Money.
Sarah, because this is mirror image. After this,
I'll put photos of them.
Thank you. Take pictures, and if you go to Sara Pascoe's Instagram stories, you'll be able to see them.
But just quickly, because lots of people have got books coming out, all their book launches have been cancelled, and so here's some. The Hungover Games, where Sophie Hayward, that's about to come out. And I think Helen Lewis's book Difficult Women has just come out, and then oh no, I just bought this. This came out. That's about to come out in paperback, I think. I met Emma at a women's international brunch, which is like the last time I went properly out, and she's absolutely amazing. And Kate Lister's book about this is a nice big one, The Curious History of Sex, which is feminist as well.
Interesting. They all look wonderful. If you could take pictures of them and put them up, because people are asking for the Sara Pascoe reading list. I'm always so in awe of what you do. You're so interesting and intelligent. Movies and TV shows, music, anything you want to recommend to us to binge or have a little look at?
I don't know. We've been rewatching The American Office.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Because do you know what? It's because it has a very Quaker morality. It's a very good-hearted show, and it's very easy to watch. If anyone's never ever watched The American Office, you can find it on Amazon Prime, and it's the most soothing, lovely thing.
That sounds like a really great escapist one. So we're down to the dark thought or the low moment you've had. Have you had any sort of like? I was out the other night and for a run, and I saw that the police were guarding Five Guys to make sure there was one in, one out.
I saw your picture, yeah.
And I did have a bit of a moment where I went, oh, and I know of course it's not going to be like this, but you have these little handmaids moments.
I see.
You know, or you know, as we talked about before, just started crying and thinking about something really, really bleak. Have you had a moment that you would be happy to share? No pressure.
Well, I think it's really difficult not to have your mind go to really dark places, because that's where I think sometimes the swing comes, because you're the same as me. I spend a lot of my time thinking about how hard I'm finding it, and then going, I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. Oh, my boyfriend's just texted me a TV recommendation.
Oh yes.
Mae Martin's show, Feel Good.
Feel Good. Is your boyfriend in it?
Yeah, he's in it. Yes, he's in it. But also, it's just so fucking, sorry for swearing, funny and beautiful and lovely, and they've made a really gorgeous show. So that's my TV recommendation. But I was going to say, I talk about my dark thoughts, Steen. Just thinking about the reason I made Refuge my charity is because for some people, we talk about how we love our homes, but we're trapped, and there are other people whose homes are not a safe place, and it just I don't know what we do.
Okay, well, Refuge will help. Are you okay, babe?
Yeah, sorry.
No. Oh God, I really no. I'm with you. No, I know. I'm with you. Fair. No, I know. I had that same bleak thought today about I started this awful uncontrollable daydream when I started imagining things happening inside houses, and like what if you couldn't get out, and what if they locked the door, and then also no one's expecting to see you.
Ask them, like, how do you say to someone, here's what I will do when I'm better. I want to do some problem solving, because we do have social, like, I just wish I could say on Twitter, what do you need? Let me find a person who can do it for you. But if you can't leave your house and you can't safely call someone, like, what can you do? So I just hope that people are okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll all swipe up after this and get onto Refuge, because I understand and I feel it too.
Yeah, because at least there's a phone number to call, but you just worry because their services are already so oversubscribed and depleted, and
I was wanting to set up something as well that I think this is very triggering for a lot of refugees, and like the refugees that I know, it's so triggering. It's like, we've got it, you know, some of them, it was sort of like they were going out with someone to a house in the country or something because it's nicer than being in London or whatever. And it was sort of like the whole thing was like, we've got to get out, we've got to go, or somebody has to be put in self-isolation for 14 days or something. And it's so triggering. And I just thought, is there a way we could do something where we could connect people with somebody that doesn't have a community, where we could just FaceTime them once a day or something?
I think some people are doing writing exchanges where anyone can put their name on a Google Doc, and that someone will write you a letter or write you emails. There are things that people are trying to do that in terms of connection. But that's the thing is, refugees are not only people who are kind of settled in countries, but obviously in camps, people in prisons. Who are now in lockdown. Imagine that, being suddenly taking the little freedoms you have in prison away for your own.
It must be absolutely dreadful.
I know. And the trouble is, it's one of those things, like, thinking about how you're really lucky and other people are struggling with something more difficult doesn't ever cheer you up.
No, it doesn't. But look, do you know what? To show our vulnerability in a moment, and at the moment our emotions being close to the surface, is part of this extraordinary historic time that I feel like I'm living through a Black Mirror, and this is part of that I'm talking. Suddenly I've never talked to you this way before, you know. Somebody asked, how is Steve? He's very well. He's gone to stay with friends in the country, and he's he's doing well. And somebody else says, listen to Mo Godot on how to fail.
Oh yes, I did.
Gada.
I did listen to it because I love that podcast. I've also seen that
So
people have been
good.
posting things like really good Facebook groups for mutual support and stuff. So that's really good because we can go back through and look at those.
And Ellen says, same with LGBTQ folks in prejudiced homes or who can't go home.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of really good comments here.
Yeah.
So that really moves us on to the piece of online feminism you'd like us to direct us to, which is Refuge.
Yeah.
And it's in the stories, and they are reaching out, they are connecting.
Yeah.
And if you've got anything to donate, I know we're all worried about money now because our incomes for many of us have gone, but many people's incomes haven't gone there. They're still working. So if you can't donate, could you amplify? It's on my story and it's on Sarah's story.
That's true. Sometimes just following someone on a group on social media lets them know that people care and people are out there, and that you hear about their campaigns, or one day you end up doing a fun run and you think, oh, I'll do it for them. Like, it doesn't, because you're absolutely right. There are people who keep going, money is not the only useful thing.
100%. And you can, if you go on Twitter or Instagram and you share it, you may not have any money, but you don't know how many wealthy people are following you, or people just with a bit more cash than you who would do it. So never think if you can't donate, you're powerless. Your influence is what's important. What do you hope humanity will learn from this, if anything, Sarah?
I think this is going to sound stupid maybe, but I really think it's the end of the kind of the cult of the individual. That we realise that, like Madonna in the bath with her rose petals, she'll be the icon of the new religion. Is realising that you can't do everything by yourself. Other people, a society, and what it means, and how we have to invest into it. And the more we invest into it, the better it is for us as well as everyone else. I just think there has to be a different setup.
I think there will be, because it's going to be very, very difficult for people to justify now, for the people who want it to be an individualist society.
It's been proven to fail. It's been proven to fail. And I think the companies, the way that companies have behaved, there are certain companies obviously that have made a huge amount of money of it, but have listened to people. Like I'm getting an email every day from Sainsbury's who at least are looking into NHS workers and vulnerable people and elderly people and deliveries for people who are most in need. And then the shoe factory refused to close. You know, the shoe, SC, they refused to close and were making their workers go in. How Weatherspoons have behaved. It's like we get to see all that. And then when we're back out there being our vibrant consumerist selves again, I really hope they learn that. Also, that Bezos today asking for the Amazon fund rather than giving his own money. There's just certain companies that, again, I know that we all have different amounts of money, but as a consumer, they all want your money, and you can send it to a more ethical place.
Completely. There are lots of amazing comments coming up, guys. Scroll through the comments and look at what people are suggesting. We don't have time to read all of them out, but they are fantastic. Thank you very much for writing. Anyone who's contributing at the moment, thank you. And do you have, finally, any habits you think might stay with us when the new normal becomes goes back to something approximating our regular life? What might be the new normal forever now?
Hey, do you know what? I've never ever spoken to my family so much.
I know, right? I'm speaking to all sorts of people. I'm sending people little voice notes every day.
Yeah.
Just saying, I hope you're okay today, and like a little cheery thing.
My dad lives in Adelaide, and I think we've always, I mean, you know this as well, because when you're so far away, you deal with family being so far away, you know, like a kind of compartmentalization, because sometimes it's quite hard. So you just kind of, me and my dad would not talk for months, not because there's any like not getting on, but just it's different times of the day and you ring at the wrong time and you just put it off, and at the moment we're talking every day just for like a hello on house party. I'm speaking to my mum every day. My mum's not a chatty person on the phone. She's the kind of person you ring and she goes, "What's up?" and you go, "Oh, nothing, just rang for a chat." She's like, "Okay then, bye." Like as if that was what you rang for. And now, because we're all consuming, I guess, so much news and stories, and also checking in, how are you, what have you got, have you taken care of yourself? So I hope that's what I continue. That's a good thing, I think. Again, the social aspect of it.
Yes, I think in a weird way I'm more connected to people that I love and care for than I've ever been. Although I'm desperate to hug them and be in the same room as them, I'm reaching out as I'm talking to my mum every day. I'm talking to people on a house party I've never even met before, because one of my mates is in there and I want to join. Yeah, and they're in with other friends, and I've met new people, and I absolutely agree. And I think we will leave the house less to go to meetings that we don't need to be in the same room for. I think that's great for the environment, and also great for our pace of life.
Yeah,
we won't be charging around so much, which I think is great. Do you have anything on that you'd like us to watch, or on Netflix?
Yeah, come and watch me lying in my bed watching The Office, please. I'd like to promote me sitting down, eating constantly.
People are live streaming that content. Thank
blowing
you.
my nose.
Have you got
I'm
anything on
webcamming?
Netflix?
That's what I'm going to do now. Completely in my pajamas, webcamming from my bedroom.
People are doing less. They're live streaming a lot less, babe. But don't you have a special on Netflix we can watch, something like that?
I've got there's a really old like half special on Netflix, but it's very old. No, I've got nothing to promote. Just other people's things, and my book comes out in paperback in May, but I don't know what date yet because I've had everything cancelled.
Well, somebody just said that your book was getting them through this quarantine.
Oh,
so
bless.
If you can read Sara Pascoe's Animal, that's something good to order. There's an audio book of that. You could get the ebook if you don't want to touch a thing someone else has touched. There are so many ways to plug in. And Sarah, we're really excited about your sitcom coming out soon too.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be amazing. What's that called?
Out of Her Mind.
Out of Her Mind.
Oh, you should get Juliet to do this.
Oh yeah, I will.
Yeah,
I will. Juliet
She'd
Stevenson.
be brilliant at this. Yeah.
We are doing. We're going to be here at 6 o'clock tomorrow. It's Sindhu v 6 o'clock tomorrow on The New Normal. Next week we've got some amazing guests. We've got. Oh no, it's not. It's Jessica Fostekew tomorrow. It's Sindhu v following Friday.
Amazing.
So tune in for Jessica Fostekew tomorrow, and Sindhu v the following Friday. May Martin's also doing it next week.
Oh, amazing.
And we'll let you know the other guests. You have been such a wonderful guest, and I feel very moved by lots of the things that you've said. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Hey, it was lovely to speak to you, and big love to everyone who watched and sent us lovely comments.
Yes.
Have a lovely evening, everyone.
Pop your books up on your story.
I'm going to take a picture right now. The light's fading. I'm going to switch the light on and then take a picture.
Thank you. And if everybody who's on this could please just go and look at the story for Refuge, or go directly to Refuge, swipe up on my story, and just visit, even if you just visit the page, and even if you just share the page, but if you've got even £1,
they'll love that. They'll love that.
It's going to make so much difference. Love you, Sara Pascoe, so much. Stay safe, stay indoors, stay clean, stay feminist, and stay connected. Bye. Oh, actually, I'm going to let Sarah go. And then I'm going to say to you guys who are still left, the people from the merch store who do our merch are going to do print to order t-shirts, and the money is going to go directly to the performer whose quote it is. So on Monday, Alison Spittle said, I'm not going to get corona for a flake. And that was about how she's husbanding her resources more. And she's like, I'm not going to pop out to the shop. So she said, I'm much more like, oh, can I get the same endorphin hit by just having a little bit of the flake? And she said, so it's making her more mindful. And so we thought, lovely Hannah, who from the merch store, saw her say that and said, oh, we could do a t-shirt of that because someone had asked for one. And then we had Grace Petrie. And Grace Petrie's slogan will be self-ice, because she's trying to make self-ice happen, or it might be stop trying to make self-ice happen. It depends what Grace allows us to do. We had Susie Wacoma on, and she coined the phrase bleak sterical, because I said I was feeling bleak and hysterical, and she said you're feeling bleak sterical. And then we'll work out one from Sarah's today. If you buy those t-shirts at the Guilty Feminist merch store, the money, the profit will go, merch store aren't taking any profit. That's going to go directly to the performer, because a lot of performers now, they just have got no income at all because they're just sitting in their houses. If the performer has an income because they've done telly, or they feel like they've got enough money for the foreseeable and they're financially stable, we're going to put that money into the Performers Hardship Fund for performers who literally make all of their money from live gigging and have absolutely nothing at the moment. So it'll either go to the individual performer, or if they'd prefer, into the pot for performers. So stop making self-ice happen. Stop trying to make self-ice happen 100%. Somebody's there said. So how much have I missed? Don't worry, this is going up for 24 hours. So if you think you would be up for buying a t-shirt from one of your favorite The New Normal performers, and you might buy one in order to contribute to their pot, then that would be great. Also go and check out The Guilty Feminist on the new go to check out The Guilty Feminist on the merch store. You can see it on our website. We've also got a Patreon. Thank you so much to so many people who've contributed to our Patreon. We never asked for money before. We never took advertising. We just went with ticket sales, and we grew that. And then of course more of our working week is The Guilty Feminist now. So we toned down and actually gave up other forms of income in order to do it. But of course now we can't sell tickets for anything. Our tour's cancelled. So we really appreciate you doing Patreon, because we want to keep it going, and we really, really would like to keep on paying our contributors, because of course they've got no income either. And also our lovely team of producers. We've hired women to be to book our acts and our back end stuff and do social media for us, and we don't want to let them down at this time either. So your Patreon contributions are everything to us. Thank you so much. We love you all. I will see you tomorrow with Jessica Foster-Q. I will see you next week. I'll announce the lineup over the weekend, but there will be Mae Martin, there will be Cindy V, and some other special guests. So we absolutely have loved this episode. See you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you from The Guilty Feminist, The New Normal.